Could the Philadelphia Eagles actually go 17-0? The injuries don't seem that big, and we talked about that yesterday. And finally, Odell Beckham Jr., he's not signing with the New York Giants. Everyone can go ahead, relax in the NFC East. I'm Thomas Mott. This is the Thomas Mott Show. What's up, guys? Thomas Mott here. Welcome into the Thomas Mott Show on a Tuesday. We have some interesting things to go ahead and get into, starting with an undefeated Eagles season. Now, before you click away, I know, it's ridiculous. The odds of the Eagles actually being undefeated all the way through the regular season is almost impossible. It's basically never happened besides the New England Patriots and the winless, or the never losing Dolphins, I should say, from 72. But there's a Bleacher Report article we're going to start with that at least makes the case that Philadelphia could be very close to 17-0. But I want to, of course, preface that I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but some people down in the comments of the show and Bleacher Report have at least thrown it out there, so we'll dive into that. And then our national story of the day, OBJ to the Giants, that was reported yesterday, but doesn't seem to be true. And then NFL power rankings, we'll see where Philadelphia and the rest of the NFL rank overall. Let's start, though, with the Bleacher Report article that begins the show today and really creates the drama of the Thomas Mott Show here on a Tuesday, and that is the idea of 17-0. Now, Philadelphia's 4-0. They've looked very good. They don't have a lot of weaknesses. As a matter of fact, you can't really think of a weakness on their football team right now. The schedule, as we'll see, is easy, and so hence, based on the fact that, again, Hurts is balling out, Sirianni looks legit, the defense, blah, 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 Bleacher Report wrote the article you see on your screen right now. Could the Eagles actually could the Philadelphia Eagles actually make a run at an undefeated season? Now, when you hear that, I think of that one meme with that girl who went ahead and drank that soda and didn't like it, but then kind of liked it, but then didn't like it again. You know, the guys with the one I'm talking about right now. That's what I think of whenever I read the title of this article. But when you actually dive into the meat and potatoes of a Christopher Knox Bleacher Report article here, he makes some pretty decent points. So let's just go through those with you and give my take on that on that here on the Thomas Mott Show. Quote, we're only 4 weeks into the 2022 NFL season. We're already down to just one undefeated team. The Philadelphia Eagles are 4-0. Whenever the NFL gets down to one undefeated team, the question inevitably arises, can that team produce a perfect season? It hasn't happened since the 1972 Miami Dolphins, though the 2007 New England Patriots came close, losing only in the Super Bowl. And then they say, in all likelihood, the Eagles will lose at least once. Flukes can happen to even the best teams. The Kansas City Chiefs lost to the Indianapolis Colts last week, made little sense, and Philadelphia is yet to be challenged by a perceived elite team, which is true, right? They keep saying, the Vikings were elite, and then we beat them. Oh, the Jaguars are scary, and then we beat them, blah, blah, blah. And so they make some sense here. What I want to go down to, though, is kind of their final thoughts regarding where Philadelphia is at and where they could go ahead and lose. We'll look at the schedule in a second, but here's what Bleacher Report said, quote, but games that appear tough on paper are few and far between. Philadelphia has 2 matchups with the Cowboys, who are 3-1, even though backup quarterback Cooper Rush has been behind center for the last 3 weeks. The Eagles will visit Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals this week, and to host Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers in Week 12. The Tennessee Titans, upstart New York Giants, and New Orleans Saints could also provide tough competition. There isn't a team that has played better than the Eagles, though, and Philadelphia could be favored in every game. The Eagles are already among the favorites to reach and win the Super Bowl, according to DraftKings Sportsbook. Philadelphia is 8-1 to win it all. Only Buffalo and Kansas City have shorter odds. Finally, the big question is whether the Eagles can keep building momentum, continue to avoid the injury bug, and make it through any trap games. Opponents aren't going to sleep on Philadelphia and can't take anyone lightly. Everything will have to align perfectly for the Eagles to even sniff an undefeated season. That's highly unlikely. There's a reason no team has replicated the Dolphins' feat in 49 seasons. Winning is hard. Winning every game is borderline impossible. So, obviously, Bleacher Report comes to the conclusion that most logical people, even diehard Eagle fans, would say, and that is a 17-0 season is very unlikely. However, we at least have to acknowledge that finding the loss on the schedule is very, very difficult. There's a good tweet here on the NFL on Prime Video showing you where Philadelphia is at. Arizona next week. We'll talk about that later on this week on the Thomas Mott Show. They are tricky. They're not an easy rollover football team. They came alive in the fourth quarter. They have some pieces, but the lack of DeAndre Hopkins, he's still suspended for this one, does make it difficult, I think, for Kyler to score on the Eagles defense. Obviously, the Cowboy matchup is going to be massive. We know that. We talked about that. We know most likely Dak Prescott comes back, and they've been winning without him, and so that is a huge one week 6. But then you're going against Kenny Pickett. You're going against Davis Mills, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, and the very unimpressive Colts. Sure, Packers, you get them at home. Tennessee Titans, who are 2-2. They started 0-2, although what's Ryan Tannehill's status going to be by, week 13? Could be going to the backup quarterback and the rookie. Then you have Giants, Bears. If you lose to the Bears, this team is terrible. Then at Dallas. That's a tough road stretch, but not tough opponents, right? Maybe one of those teams in Dallas is a playoff team. I keep saying that the Giants are a product of their schedule. They're not a true 3-1 football team. The Saints, by that point, you would assume would have been eliminated, and then you finish up at home against the Giants. Where is the loss here? It feels like if a loss is going to come, it's in the next 2 weeks. It's with either against Arizona on the road or Dallas in week 6, and then any other loss that could come could be the Giants or maybe a fluke game, a fluke loss to the Titans, or Carson Wentz's revenge on Monday night after the Texans game, or maybe the Saints at home who are trying to squeak into the playoffs. I don't know, but it's at least fun to entertain the idea of an undefeated season. Now, I am of the impression that you should lose some games during the regular season. I think losing benefits you. I think Philadelphia, at some point, whether they get to 4-0, well, they're at 4-0, whether they get to 5-0, 6-0, 8-0, 9-0, 10-0, eventually we'll need to be humbled a little bit. Eventually we'll need to see what losing is like. That way they don't get too high on themselves and overlook an opponent in the wild card round or the divisional round. They will lose at some point, but it is interesting to at least look at the fact that, hey, there isn't a lot of quality teams on the schedule. Philadelphia should try to win as many games as possible, obviously, because first round bye, a home playoff game at the link after, not playing in the wild card round would go very, very far to the Eagles' chances of making a Super Bowl. You got to remember, if you're the 1 seed, you play 2 games to get to the Super Bowl, divisional round and then the NFC Championship game, both at home. You just got to win 2, and then you're in the big game of Glendale, Arizona in February of this year. So it's crazy. We'll see the comments. I know down below, most of you don't believe it'll happen. I don't think it will either. But who's to say this isn't a 12-win schedule or a 13-win schedule or a 14-win schedule? I don't know. It's interesting to see. Very curious where you guys are at on that. We'll have some good NFC East, or I should say Eagles injury updates here in just 1 second, as well as the OBJ drama and then our National League story of the day, which was turning out to not be drama. Josina Anderson had a tweet about this, which was, I guess, totally wrong. First, though, if you guys like the show, YouTube loves thumbs up. So you guys like the Thomas Mott Show, Philadelphia, and the National Football League, trying to combine it all into one, give the video a thumbs up. And if you want more shows, then just go down below and subscribe. I would appreciate that. How about thumbs up for one of these cool Eagle shirts I got for the show at Lincoln Financial Field? A little Nike white one. I like that. I like, mix things up every now and then for the show. That way I have some more Eagles gear to wear on camera. Okay, NBC Sports. Let's move over here to the injury update. We talked about this yesterday because I filmed the show so early every single morning that I don't always have the details on injuries, especially a Monday morning after a Sunday game. However, we still don't have a full update on Philadelphia in terms of the injuries. Maybe they'll come later on this afternoon, who knows? But Nick Sirianni did say in his press conference yesterday that maybe everybody could play, which is way better than I thought it was going to be because I was convinced Mailata was going to be out for a couple of weeks. Still might be, depending on when you watch this show or listen to this show. But here's what Sirianni said yesterday, quote, "We think that everybody has a chance to play this weekend. I don't want to come out and say that quite yet, just in case some things happen, but we do believe that everybody has a chance to play this weekend." And again, as they say here, we'll keep going. That answer came after a specific question about these 5 injured players: Jake Elliott's leg, Jordan Mailata's shoulder, Darius Slay's forearm, Isaac Seumalo's ankle, and Avonte Maddox's ankle as well. And they, again, just say that Sirianni's answer doesn't mean any of the players will play in Arizona in Week 5. It at least made it seem like none of them are extremely significant. Things could change, but file that under good news for now. That is fantastic news for now, because right now, as it currently stands, the big one, in my opinion, was Mailata, because Mailata is one of the best left tackles, if not the best in the league, and the fact that he could be out for an extended period of time is bad news. Now, Dillard coming back in the next couple of weeks would, circumvent that and help that out a little bit, but losing Mailata would be a big loss to what is the best offensive line in the National Football League. Good news there that maybe he does miss Sunday against the Cardinals, but it's not like he's going to be out till, week 12. It seems like so far that is good news and worthy of a thumbs up. All right, we go ahead and roll to our National League story of the day. It does tie into the NFC East, and then we'll finish with power rankings. We always do that here on a Monday show. So there was a very interesting tweet from Josina Anderson that basically blew up on Twitter, basically saying that OBJ was in the Giants facility yesterday, and it was like, oh my gosh, Odell Beckham Jr., he's a free agent. He's one of the most prolific wide receivers the past 5 years. He comes off the ACL injury in the Super Bowl. He's finally ready. The Giants need receivers. This is the reunion we've all been waiting for, until the New York Post went ahead and dashed any sort of excitement, went ahead and threw water on any fire there for all the Giant fans, and I guess this is good news for Eagle fans in the NFC East. How about this? So, Odell Beckham Jr. is available. He was once a dynamic wide receiver for the Giants in the best way, and so connect the dots with the news that Beckham on Monday was at the Giants facility. Wow, right? Well, not so much. Beckham was indeed inside the building at 1925 Giants Drive, but it was not an official visit with the team. He was there to catch up with his good friend Sterling Shepard, his former Giants teammate who was going through a rough time, having torn his ACL in Week 3 to prematurely end his season prematurely end his comeback season. Shepard ruptured his Achilles in the season finale in 2021 and made a strong recovery, only to suffer another serious injury. So seemingly Beckham to the Giants is not there, although I wouldn't be shocked if he took a little meeting, right? What's to say he didn't walk by the Giants GM or, say hi to Brian Daboll, and Daboll says, hey, we need you, and OBJ said, hey, for the right price, and then in the future, it could go ahead and happen. Now, as they went ahead and said in the New York Post article, Beckham, 29, recovering from a torn ACL that knocked him out of the Super Bowl after he was on his way to possibly earning MVP honors as the Rams defeated the Bengals. The Giants are desperate for a wide receiver. The article would go on to say that their leading receiver right now is former 49er reserve Richie James. He has 15 catches for 155 yards. The 3-1 Giants have the 31st ranked passing attack. Another reason why I keep saying the Giants aren't really a 3-1 football team. So OBJ will get signed somewhere, and I have seen plenty of people to tie this back into Philadelphia say, why not come to Philly? I don't think the Eagles need him. I think it would be too many mouths to feed. I think right now OBJ is going to look for a winner, which Philadelphia is, but a winner that needs a wide receiver, whether that is the Rams, who seemingly Allen Robinson has been an absolute waste. Somebody else, Brady could use a receiver. Would he want to team up with Brady? He's talked about that in the past. I'm not sure, but the odds of the Giants landing him to me seem a little bit unlikely, even though they are desperate for a receiver. But that news that flashed on your Twitter timeline, that OBJ to the Giants, it was more OBJ being a good person and helping out his buddy who's going through some rough times right now in Sterling Shepard. Okay, let's go ahead and go to our power rankings here. We always do the NFL.com power rankings on a Monday after a Week 5, a fascinating Week 5. Talked about it in our National League story yesterday. Look who is the new number 1, or I guess they were the number 1 last week. The continuous number 1, the Philadelphia Eagles, and they have a good write-up here. Quote, adversity came for the Eagles on Sunday, and they turned it away. Playing in rainy conditions with multiple important players forced out of action with injuries, Philadelphia relied on its ground attack, 210 rushing yards, against an opportunistic defense, 5 turnovers, to hold off a game Jaguars team at the link. Weird word in there. Quarterback Jalen Hurts looked pedestrian for the first time all season. Did he, though? I don't know if that's correct. So Miles Sanders did the heavy lifting with 134 yards and 2 scores on 27 carries. The NFL's lone undefeated team, the Eagles, should have another favorable matchup this Sunday against the inconsistent Cardinals. Did Hurts look pedestrian, or was it just pouring rain and freezing cold and not a passing person's day? I think that's more what it was. But, national media, that's how it works. Bills are 2, a great comeback win against Baltimore. That is the Josh Allen effect. I think they are the second best team in the league as well. Kansas City, very deservingly, they sit at 3. The Packers at 4, though. I'm still not buying. I saw Dan Orlovsky go on Get Up yesterday on ESPN, and he said the Packers' offense could be better this year by the end of the year than what it was last year with Devontae Adams. I'm still not seeing that. They almost lost to Bailey Zappi, a second or fourth round draft pick out of some nowhere college who's never thought would be an NFL quarterback who played pretty well. I don't know if Green Bay's the 4th best team. I think San Francisco, after that win last night, might be the 4th best team. They're at 5 here in the power rankings, mainly because, Garoppolo is not necessarily scaring anybody. He's not an elite quarterback. He's just, more of a game manager. I still like him, but a game manager. They have the Bengals there at 6. They have the Baltimore Ravens at 7. Baltimore's had 2 terrible fourth quarters against Miami and now the Bills, and that defense has me very worried. This is no longer the play like a Raven defense that you're used to with Ray Lewis and Terrell Suggs and the rest of those guys. Bucks at 8. The Bucks, to me, man, I don't know what the Bucks are. I really don't, because they have Brady, and you never count out the Bucks because they have Brady. And Mike Evans is back, and he got a touchdown, and Godwin is back, and Julio Jones is back. But that defense, which was supposed to be like Todd Bowles' thing, got obliterated on Sunday night, and you just don't know if that's the chief factor or if they're actually not that good. Remains to be seen. Vikings at 9, maybe. Dolphins at 10, but no Tua, and so that does factor into it. We'll see if they can go ahead and win without Tua coming up on Sunday. Rams at 11, Titans at 12, Cowboys at 13. No love for the 3-1 Cowboys. Chargers 14, Raiders 15. They're 1-3, and yet they're 15. Denver 16, Cardinals are 17. Again, no D-Hop in that one against Philadelphia. And then the Saints at 18, Giants at 19, and the Jacksonville Jaguars there at 20. Rounding out your top 20 from the NFL.com power rankings. We always like to do that here on a, whatever it is, Tuesday morning. Okay, so what we know is that Philadelphia looks good. What we know is that Philadelphia is banged up, but not as bad as we thought that they were. We know they won't go undefeated, but the schedule is very, very favorable. We know that Odell Beckham Jr., at least for now, is not becoming a Giant, and we know that right now the power rankings are pretty much accurate from NFL.com, but it could obviously change, and it will change over the days and weeks to come. So we'll have plenty more shows here on the Thomas Mott Show covering the National Football League, as we always do. So stay tuned for that. Thumbs up if you watch till the end. I appreciate you. Stay safe out there. We'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.